Hi everyone, it's Savannah here, and today I thought I'd talk about my time at the University of Nottingham versus the University of Cambridge. Now, Nottingham it's a great university, but it's one of the more standard run-of-the-mill universities that people go to in the UK. Cambridge has much more history, and it's got a lot of things that are special or uniquely Oxbridge, Oxford or Cambridge. These two universities have things that are quite unique to them, and especially because of their age and their prestige, and as a result you can have quite a different time whether you go to a university like Nottingham or Birmingham versus your time at, say, Oxford or Cambridge. I thought I'd compare these two experiences, my time at Nottingham versus my time at Cambridge, and there are good things and bad things about both. And just because you're not at Cambridge doesn't mean you're necessarily worse off. Did you see like a little mozzie or something fly around then? Someone who has offers from, let's say, both Nottingham and Cambridge might choose to go to Nottingham over Cambridge. It isn't as perhaps as prestigious and worldwide well known as Cambridge is, but there are a lot of pros to being at Nottingham instead. And in this video I'm going to kind of discuss my time at both universities, why one might want to choose one over the other, and just things like that. Let's get into it. It's important to note my time at Nottingham will probably be largely similar to someone's time at Birmingham or Bristol or Manchester. All of these universities are on very equal footing. They have similar amounts of prestige, they have similar kind of atmosphere, research systems. You get the idea. So COVID aside, I really enjoyed my time at Nottingham. I did a maths undergraduate degree at Nottingham versus a philosophy of science MPhil at Cambridge. Even though I did undergraduate and postgraduate at different universities, I'm going to try and keep it largely general. So if you're applying for an undergraduate degree at both, for example, you can get a rough idea of what it will be like. Nottingham I really enjoyed. I felt, compared to Cambridge, people were a lot more normal. It was nice that there were lots of people there who I felt like were from similar backgrounds to me. I felt like people at Nottingham were quite understanding when I had trouble with my course. Any issues I had, I was able to get help on. I really enjoyed the campus at Nottingham. Now, Oxford and Cambridge as universities, they don't have campuses. I'll come on to that in a bit. But Nottingham has this lovely huge green campus that's right next to town. It's probably about a 20-minute walk from Nottingham's campus to town, but you can also get the bus. And Nottingham as a city is great. It's a big city. It's got, crucially for me being from Wolverhampton next to Birmingham, it's got lots of good connections around the UK, Nottingham has. There's lots of independent shops, there's lots of big chain shops as well. This wasn't as big a thing for me, but there were lots of good clubs in Nottingham. Now, I only went clubbing like twice during my time at uni, but Nottingham had lots of good clubs. It had a real big kind of student nightlife scene. Even though the university compared to Oxbridge is relatively young, it still has beautiful old buildings and it's great to take pictures with. It's very scenic. The accommodation is good. Crucially, the accommodation is a lot cheaper than it is at Oxford and Cambridge, which I'll get onto. And if you want just a solid, good all-round university experience, then I definitely recommend Nottingham. If you want one where you know there won't be any crazy things happening or surprises, but you know that you'll still have a good time and you'll really enjoy it, definitely Nottingham was great. I made my closest friends at Nottingham. It was a really good time. COVID aside, I think I had a good student experience there. Even though I did a maths degree, I was able to take modules from different subjects and things. We also had study abroad programme. Oxford and Cambridge do not allow you to study abroad unless you're doing a languages degree, so do take that in mind. If you'd like to spend a semester or even a year in a different country. You can do that at universities such as Nottingham, Birmingham, Coventry. You can do that there, but at Oxford and Cambridge you cannot. That's a general overview of Nottingham. I'll move on to Cambridge now. Cambridge has a lot more extreme highs and lows, I feel. One thing that shocked me when I came to Cambridge is kind of how much weight the Cambridge University name holds for you. It opens doors to a lot more opportunities. You're able to make a lot more of a connection with Cambridge alumni than you are with, say, Nottingham alumni. If you're chatting to someone who's older than you and they went to Cambridge, there's going to be instantly that almost kind of American sorority, fraternity, kinship there, where it's like, yeah, we went to the same place, I can help you. That hasn't happened to me, but it's what I do sense a lot of. It's like, oh, we went to the same Cambridge college, I can give you a hand. Which may not be which isn't really the most ethical thing. But even aside from that, just saying that you went to Cambridge instantly opens a lot more doors and opportunities. Yeah, it was really interesting to see that difference. As well as that, Cambridge has things like the Cambridge Union. Famous and influential people from all over the world really do want to come and speak to Cambridge students. As a result, you are able to make really good connections because of that. Politicians, of course, also love Cambridge, and it's very easy to meet and contact MPs and other politicians from that perspective, especially because we have the Cambridge Union, which is a debating society. It invites speakers from all over the world who come and speak there, and if you're lucky, you're able to actually chat with them and network with them. I think we've had Dua Lipa speak, we've had F1 drivers speak, we've had prime ministers, we've had the ambassador for Ukraine speak. There's a real variety of speakers, and yeah, suddenly a lot more doors become open. It was really interesting to suddenly, because you have the Cambridge name attached to you now, you're handed this real wealth of opportunity. Another thing that surprised me about Cambridge that I feel like other universities such as Nottingham don't have is actually such a vibrant arts scene. This really surprised me actually. Like, if you want to be like an actor or a comedian, then like Cambridge is actually amazing for that. There's so much art and theatre going on. This is one of the best things about Cambridge, I think. There's so many independent theatres like really close to each other, and there's shows on like every single week, and they're often really cheap as well. It's really easy to go and see shows, be in a show. I'm in the Cambridge Footlights now, which is a comedy troupe, and we've had people like Emma Thompson and Stephen Fry be in this troupe in the past, who have gone on to have really good careers. And I think this is in part to all the opportunities for drama and acting and comedy that there is at Cambridge, because there is just so much. We have a society called the Marlowe Society, where we have a society called the Marlowe Society, which every year puts on a show with their best graduating actors for agents in London and Cambridge, and they're able to get great careers off the back of that as well. Now, it could just be as well because Nottingham unfortunately was kind of scuppered by 2 years of COVID, that I didn't get to see as much of Nottingham's art scene, but Nottingham still had lots of plays and things going on, and I have a memory in first year at Nottingham of going to see the medic school put on like a Legally Blonde play. That's one thing that really surprised me about Cambridge, that I feel like I hadn't really seen at other universities before. I don't even know if it's as strong at Oxford actually. It's really interesting. The way I've seen it and heard it said is that Oxford is more for like people who want to be politicians, Cambridge is more for people who want to be comedians. Another thing for Cambridge is that it is not a campus university. It's intertwined with the city very much. I was not keen on the idea of a non-campus university. I loved just being able to walk around campus and see my friends, have everything kind of self-contained for me. a safe place where I could walk around late at night, as opposed to a city. Being in the middle of a city at like 3 a.m, things can get a bit more worrying than if you were on a campus with CCTV and security. But this is perhaps more of a quirk of Cambridge, in that the city of Cambridge itself is actually very, very small, and because the colleges basically dominate the city, it kind of just feels like a giant campus anyway. Each college you go to at Cambridge is also kind of like its own campus. But I think overall I did just prefer that whole campus thing at Nottingham. We had a huge Students' Union building at Nottingham, which unfortunately we're not lucky enough to have at Cambridge. Students' Union building, it's like where everyone meets, there's shops and hairdressers and stuff. It's kind of great. It's like its own self-contained city for students, but you can still go into the city of Nottingham if you wanted. Whereas Cambridge, you're kind of always in Cambridge, both the university and the city. You don't get as much of that sense of escapism, and people talk about the Cambridge bubble, and that's very real. Nottingham's campus was really, really pretty, and it has so much nature and greenery. Cambridge has really beautiful buildings. It is so scenic, and we have lots of parks there as well. The beauty of like the buildings in Cambridge is quite unparalleled, having all these beautiful college chapels and dining halls around us. The collegiate system is also quite unique to Oxbridge, and being able to like live in a small community where you've got your own social spaces and a dining hall that's probably hundreds of years old and is beautiful. Just the atmosphere of being able to eat breakfast with your friends in a hundreds of year old dining hall is really, really cool and very, very unique. And going on from that, Cambridge does have a lot of traditions. This can put people off. They might not like all the tradition. A lot of it can as well be grounded in the Church of England, which as well can be quite off-putting to people who aren't Christian. For example, with graduation, we have to kneel in front of someone. We don't get the traditional walk across stage and shake someone's hand. It's all in Latin. We kneel in front of someone and hold their hands, and we have to wear a strict dress code. It's very different, but I liked it. You also have to buy a gown once you come to Cambridge, and you will wear this gown for things like matriculation, which is very much an Oxbridge and maybe Durham unique thing, where you officially become a member of the university. You get quite a lot of use out of your gown at Cambridge. You might go to lots of formal halls. You have to wear your gown there. If you go to chapel, you have to wear your gown. Some people don't like having to do that all the time, but I did quite enjoy the tradition, so it worked out well for me. Nottingham is a lot more secular. It doesn't have as much tradition like that, but on the other hand, it can be a lot more modern and forward thinking. It can be a lot more willing to be more experimental and try out new ways of teaching and learning, different types of buildings, areas for students. Cambridge, you can get a lot of pushback with that sort of thing from older academics who want to uphold the tradition. In that sense, it can be harder for your university to be trying out stuff that might be really cool and new, whereas universities like Nottingham will be able to do that sort of stuff. I've talked about some of the things I found great about Cambridge, but like I said, Nottingham is a lot more of just a solid, good university experience. Cambridge has a lot more highs, but also a lot more lows. The terms at Cambridge are 8 weeks, which could be a plus for you, but they are also very, very intense. You can have lectures on a Saturday, so you only really get 1 day off a week. Often the university and the colleges can be a lot less understanding of mental health issues. I've heard stories of people who have gone to their college with a mental health condition, and the college has basically forced them to intermit, which is crazy. At Nottingham, you would get help and support for that. At Nottingham, you would not be forced to intermit, but it can be quite difficult and isolating for people at Cambridge, knowing that they don't want to get help from their university because they could just be forced to like take a year out of their degree, which may not be financially possible for them, especially because this is another thing. Cambridge is a hugely expensive city to live in. It's London prices without London wages. You are not getting enough money at Cambridge. No matter, even if you get the maximum student loan, it's not enough. Cambridge is very expensive. Cambridge can be a lot less understanding if you do have perhaps mental health issues. Buildings, because they're so old, can largely be inaccessible. For example, if you use a wheelchair, there might be lots of steps and things. Universities not like Nottingham, which are much more modern, will always have the kind of infrastructure to be able to help you around if you are in a wheelchair, for example. And yeah, there can be a lot more academic pressure at Cambridge. I was really shocked when I found out that undergraduates, when they get their end of year results, it's posted publicly for everyone to see, a ranking of where everyone in the year came with your name. So you can see if you came very bottom of the year or if you just came middle. And I think that's so damaging. It can have a massive impact on your self-esteem. I was shocked. I think people can opt out of it, but it's still not great, I think, for people mentally when people will not have opted out of it and you'll hear all your course mates bragging about, oh, I came first in the year, I was in the top 10 or whatever. Yeah, I do not appreciate that part of it. And yeah, I've mentioned this before, but Cambridge is really expensive. Universities that are like Nottingham, Coventry, Birmingham, they can be a lot cheaper to live in, and you will also get to live in a big city. I feel like in Cambridge we miss out on a lot of shops, big shops and things, because Cambridge isn't that big a city. We don't get as many good shopping opportunities, whereas like Birmingham, all the shops you need are there. And I think that pretty much covers it all. I'll try and make like a summary. So Nottingham is more forward thinking and experimental. Cambridge has a lot more tradition. Cambridge is a lot more expensive. Nottingham can be a lot easier to live in. Nottingham has a campus, Cambridge doesn't. Universities like Nottingham in bigger cities can have lots of really good shopping opportunities. Cambridge has less good shopping opportunities. Still fine for me, but it can be a bit annoying when a shop you want to go to just isn't in Cambridge. Nottingham I felt was a bit better connected to parts of the country. Cambridge it's a little bit harder. Cambridge, their name holds a lot more weight and there's a lot more opportunities with the Cambridge name. Nottingham, still an amazing degree, but there's less of that connection between alumni, I feel. Cambridge, for some reason, is just like a really good place for theatre and the arts. Nottingham, you can still get involved with things like that, but it doesn't seem to be as big an atmosphere. Cambridge can be a lot more pressure academically. Some people feel like the academic pressure isn't worth like the kind of prestige of having a Cambridge degree. Nottingham can be a lot more lenient, more understanding of mental health issues. Universities like Nottingham, you can do a year abroad. Cambridge, you can't. Cambridge terms are shorter, 8 weeks. Nottingham terms are longer, 12 weeks. But you get a week off in the middle, a reading week, if you do an arts degree. And yeah, did I mention Cambridge is expensive yet? I actually can't remember, but yeah, Cambridge expensive, Nottingham not. So I hope that summed it up pretty well for you. If you're deciding between a solid university such as Nottingham, Birmingham, Glasgow and Oxbridge, then I hope that could help you decide. Please let me know if you've got any more questions or if you think there's something I haven't covered or missed out in this video, and I will do my best to answer them in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.